couple weeks ago, back-to-back days, my wife came in with a friend to the restaurant.
Appreciate that, by the way.
No worries. And then the next day, I think it was the next day, my sister-in-law came in celebrating her. She got a raise, so she wanted to go to PAX. And I called both days, and the first day I tried to buy my wife a dessert. Paul's like, I see your wife. Don't worry about it. She's here. We appreciate that. And then the next day I called, trying to pay for my sister-in-law, dinner, and he helped me out with that. And then he said, oh, you know what? We can give her the dessert as a that's going to be on us, right? I said, Paul, you don't have to do that. You always take care of my family. They're all the time. We need a big table. You take care of it. We just drop in. And I said, you're always taking care of my family. He says, okay, it's okay. You're family too.
That's right.
And I realized right there,
that's so nice.
That's the way I feel like you guys are going about the business. Is like people are coming in. It's a family.
Definitely. Everyone's welcome. You come in with good energy. You're already 99% of the way there. So that's all I'm drawn to.
That's what PAX Romana really is. It's a peace pact, isn't it? At
Pretty
the end
much,
of the day,
yeah.
that's the translation.
Roman peace, yeah.
Where the name really comes
There's
from.
Google over there.
PAX Romana is Latin for the Roman peace. So it was a time during the Roman Empire, because I'm trying to build an empire over here. And I'm Roman, partly. Say a time of like growth, prosperity, wealth, celebration, lasted about 200 years. So maybe I'll get close to 200. I don't know. We'll see.
Cool. That's goals.
You just keep passing it down.
Right.
So what was your background, though, before opening this?
In my career-wise?
Yeah, I mean, people go, I'm just going to open up a restaurant, or were you
I
already
kind of made
in
that
this?
decision when I was like 4 years old. It's my mom's
4 years old?
Yeah. It's my mom's most favorite cliche story. I don't really remember, but she remembers thoroughly, and I never changed.
Wait, tell this story.
It's kind of corny, kind of cheesy, and I love every minute of it. But was I 4 years old, roughly? My parents brought my brother and I to Disney World. At the time, we pulled up to the hotel, and we were staying at the Grand Floridian at the time. And my mom said we got out of the car, and I looked up at the hotel, and my mouth kind of just dropped open. I was like, oh, and I turned to her, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life, hotels and restaurants. And it never changed. I mean, I wanted to do other things too. Like I wanted to be an archaeologist. Like I dug holes in the backyard, for years. But it always just went back to hospitality, food and beverage, restaurants. So
circling through growing up, were you doing this though?
Yeah. I had other jobs prior to the restaurant business. I think I started working when I was like 13, 14. And I wanted to, all I wanted to do was work. So it wasn't like, oh, you have to get out of the house and go get a job. You're freeloading over here. And it wasn't like that. It was just like, no. Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to sign something? Do you have to sign something? Can I go work? Let's go. So then, what was I? I was a caddy at Ardsley for a little bit, Ardsley Country Club. Then I worked at Stu Leonard's for a couple of years as a cashier. Loved it. I actually really did. It was a great company to work for. And just, it kind of exposed you to people, especially as a cashier. So now I'm kind of learning that other dynamic of it. I was young, though. I was probably like 16 at the time. But was learning more about people and personalities and how interesting the world can be, or one way to put it.
Like how to deal with the general public.
And then,
with Stu Leonard's, at the end of the day, did you guys go hit the ice cream shop and get the salsa?
All the time.
That was like a thing that you did, right? Okay.
All the time.
This place, you can't steer away from that saucer. It's like crack.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I just found the flying saucers in my my freezer from Stu Leonard's. I ate 3 of them for breakfast. But now it's good. And then, let's see, when I was 17, then I started to really get into this business. So I was at the Castle on the Hudson in Tarrytown. I live in Tarrytown, so for 4 years. But my first 2 years, I was back and forth from school. So I went to Johnson & Wales for hotel restaurant management. And so I was there. I got my bachelor's in that. And then once I graduated, I went full-time at the Castle. And then kind of put myself out there. That was a huge turning point in my life. I worked for a very interesting individual who I learned a lot from. But I'm not going to say his name because it's probably not nice. But I learned a lot more. I learned a lot more from his mistakes and probably what you shouldn't do. Taught me a lot of good things too, but I don't know. I kind of just feel like if you're in the hospitality industry, starting off as just being a good person is probably the best way to kind of elevate yourself a little bit more. You know, depending on what you want to do. You just want to make a paycheck and take advantage of people, I guess. I don't know. Then act however you want.
That is some business model out there to people. Yeah.
But yeah, so be a good person is probably the best way to start in this business. So, and then everything else kind of follows. So I did that for a few more years. And then, that's a long story short. And then I went to a private golf club in Rockland. And it was ironic because when I worked at Ardsley when I was 13, I hated caddying. Like, I wasn't really a caddy. I couldn't tell you what to do. It was like, oh, you want this iron? Okay, here, take it. You know, I carried a bag. But I said to myself at the time, I was like, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to try. I was like, but I will never go back to a club for the rest of my life. Fast forward, not even 10 years later, I was back in a club and loved it and took over food and beverage there as their director. And then did that for first few years. I was co-managing with a good friend who's still a good friend, who's amazing in this business. We learned a lot from each other. And then I think it was after 2 seasons, maybe 2 or 3. And then I just took over completely for the last 3. And then the next goal was for myself, you know, and my partners.
And you were saying, too, along the way that you were able to pick up on things that guys did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true to a lot of people that are paying attention in this business is as you're on your journey and as you're trekking through various different ownerships and seeing various different business models, that you do take maybe the negatives and drop them, but take all those positives that exist in these businesses. And now as you've been in 7, 8 different places, you've essentially assembled an idea of a business model by taking all of those best points that all those guys did.
Definitely.
And nobody really does things the same way at the end of the day. So you were able to take a lot of these things that you saw throughout your journey and then be able to apply them to PAX Romana.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, even going back to the maitre d' that I learned from, you know, if you really want to get like quick nitty gritty of how that started with the castle.
We love nitty gritty.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know about, it'll touch on some of those points, I guess. But so I was, 17 at the time. So my mother's back to my mom, my biggest supporter my whole life. My whole family is, but my mom she's just always there. And I say that for a reason. So with the castle, she's like, all right, listen, there's a job opening up at the castle, go apply. I'm like, all right, cool. So went up there, sat in this beautiful lobby, way above any price range I've ever seen with my own eyes, because I lived in, you know, a little bubble of Terrytown at the time. I was still young, you know, so I wasn't as exposed yet. So beautiful property. It still is. Immaculate. If you haven't been, just go walk the grounds. It's incredible. But she said, all right, go for your interview. So I went, met with the restaurant manager, talked with him for a little while, and said, all right, if we need you, we'll give you a call in a couple of days. All right, cool. So I go home, waiting. My mother, a couple of days, did they call you? No. She goes, all right, you go back. And I said, are you sure? And she goes, yeah, you go back. I said, all right. So I went a second time, met with him again, talked shorter this time, obviously. He was like, all right, if we need anything, we'll give you a call. Cool. A couple of days go by, and again, when I was like, did they call you? I said, no. I was like, and she's like, all right, you go back. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, you know, and she's like, yeah. She goes, you go back. And to this day, I will say those 3 little words, you go back, changed my entire life. And so I went back a third time, and then the catering manager saw me. He's like, oh, you know, the one who, you know, learned a lot from. And he said, oh, you know, I've seen you here a couple times this week. Like, what's going on? I said, oh, I'm looking for a job, you know, and
he's like, I thought you worked here already.
Right, pretty much. You know, I'm just like hanging out in this lobby, 17 years old. Right, clean, yeah, do whatever you need. Like he said, he goes, well, I'm hiring in catering department. You know, would you be interested in that? I said, yeah. I was like, I'll do that. He goes, okay. He goes, how soon can you start? I said, you tell me. And he's like, all right, can you start tomorrow? And I said, sure. He goes, well, you need a tuxedo, you need this and that. He goes, do you have all that ready? And I was like, yeah. He goes, you have a tuxedo right now? I said, yeah. He goes, how old are you? I said, 17. And he goes, you're 17, you have a tuxedo. And I said, I do. I was like, you know, I'm ready to go. And he goes, all right. He goes, you start tomorrow. And he goes, make sure I can see my reflection in your shoes. I said, okay. So I went home, and my mom was like, all right, so how'd it go today? And I was like, oh, I got the job. I start tomorrow. She goes, that's great. I was like, yeah, but now I need a tuxedo. And she goes, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I told the guy I had a tuxedo. And I was like, I don't have one, but I wasn't going to pass up on it. So she's like, all right. She goes, we're going to Yonkers. My grandmother, my nonna, her cousins own San Marco tuxedo right near Cross County. So we went straight there, and they fitted me for a tuxedo, like quick makeshift, quick hem, quick everything, and bought patent leather shoes. He said he wanted to see his reflection. I walked in the next day. He's like, oh, shit. He goes, you really had a tuxedo? I said, yeah. And he goes, why the hell are your shoes so shiny? I was like, you wanted to see my reflection. He goes, I was being sarcastic. He goes, you're going to kill your feet in those. Get rid of those because I don't want to see them. He goes, you look like you're the one getting married. And so I was like, all right. So then went back to regular shoes after that. Killed my feet that first day, but I dealt with it. And then, awesome. So then fast forward 4 years, he was on his way out for plethora of reasons. And I remember we were standing on the loading dock of the hotel, and he was smoking a cigarette. And so I said something, was like, so-and-so again, I don't want to say his name. But I was like, I appreciate everything you did for me the past few years. I'm sorry, fast forward 2 years, not 4, because I was there for 4 in its entirety. So fast forward 2 years from getting hired. So I said to him, I was like, thank you for everything you taught me the past couple of years. I wish you well and everything, but I think I'm going to go for the catering manager's job, which was his job. Yeah. And so he looked at me, and he gave me this look, and he flicked his cigarette, and he goes, you think you'd be able to do what I do? He goes, you'll never be able to do what I do. And I was like, in my head, I was like 19, almost 20 at the time, hot-headed Italian, probably could have had a few words to say, but I was like, you know what? I was like, that's not class. I was like, that's not what I'm striving to be. So I was like, all right, I almost said his name. I was like, all right, still wish you well, appreciate everything. And I never saw him again. And so I went right to the GM, who I had a good relationship with. And I told him what I wanted to do. And he said, oh, you're still a little green and everything. But, he knew the way I worked. I started off picking up shrimp tails off the floor, after cocktail hours got done. And I said to myself, I was like, nobody's going to pick up shrimp tails off the floor better than me in the world, ever, to exist. So I did that, and then I moved up. So then when I went for this opportunity, I said to him, I was like, you give me a chance. I was like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'll still work hard for you. No harm, no foul. And so I said, all right, you'll see what you can do. So then I did. I ended up getting captain's position, and then took over as the assistant manager, and then there was a full-time manager that worked in more than just the catering. So we all worked together, but I was able to work up to that management position that I wanted. I did that for 2 more years. So I never heard from him again. And from what I understand, maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't. I guess it's irrelevant whether he does or not, but I did what I needed to do. And then I ended up getting Employee of the Year that same year, too.
There you go.
So it was even more icing on that cake.
You can never do my job, Employee of the Year. What's up?
Yeah. Right. It was gassed up. But again, I stay humble.
True.
But it was good. And I loved it there. I really did. I loved the property. And then I went to the golf club.
Well, it's also a good experience to have as far as opening your own business anyway, is Definitely. Having that catering background, because I think we all agree that there's money to be made in catering. And these
my God.
Events.
100%.
Night, yeah. It could be night and day, depending on the concept, depending on everything.
Sure, so you learn the execution of it, the pricing, how many people have to serve things. So you have a leg up out the gate, which many guys that open a restaurant are just like, oh, I guess we'll do catering now. Also, because people asked if we could get trays and not really know how to do this pricing. So now you finish there,
right? And
what happens next?
Well, that's pretty much going to be the longest part of that, this story, the growth of it, because that's how I started. And it all, again, stemmed from you go back. And changed everything. Otherwise, and not that I was against going back, but I was just so young and so new, I didn't think that was what you did. But it changed my life. So then, all of this that followed catapulted me into the golf club. It's where I was for 6 years. But now I took like the catering aspect, but again, even at the hotel, anything that needed to be done, valet, housekeeping, bellboy, front desk, if somebody needed like somebody to fill in, I was there. But catering was my focus. So then at the golf club, now taking over food and beverage, unbelievable learning experience, super, super private club. Like I'm talking massive wealth, and talk about influencers. These are athletes, politicians, finance, all walks of life, though. It's not a specific demographic at this club like some clubs can be. Very, very diverse. And
It's just
actors,
a certain
actresses,
tax bracket.
it's crazy, crazy. I wish I could say names, but I've signed a lot of confidentiality agreements in my life. And all awesome people. And it was crazy, too, because now I'm thinking this amount of wealth, everyone seems to demonize the people that are in this amount of wealth. And, like, I still, to this day, watch them on the news, getting interviewed, getting blasted by the news, everything else. And meanwhile, they're the nicest, most generous, down-to-earth people. Not all of them, but I would say 98% of them were. And, like, I've literally watched them in the restaurant, at the club, watch themselves on TV. And so, like, how do you feel that they're blasting? He's like, I do what I do. It's irrelevant. These guys are writing donation checks, massive ones that the media will never cover because they don't know.
That's part of the territory, though, too.
But the nice thing about the club, now back to how it applied to my life, now I'm seeing a membership. I'm seeing the same people every day. I'm seeing, and it was not a huge membership, maybe 210 members at the time. Or some clubs 500 plus, but you see the same people over and over again every single day, and they all have their own personality. So now I made it a game, and I'm like, okay, this person, I'm going to learn everything about this guy's personality, this woman's personality, so and so. And it was just such a diverse membership and diverse personalities that I said, whatever I do next, now, like, maybe I'll run into somebody that reminds me of so and so because of their personality, and I already have it figured out, like how I can approach you. Not to manipulate you in a bad way, but it's just to provide you that hospitable experience that, you deserve if you come into anything that for what I do. So again, it was a game. So I had 6 years of training, learning different personalities.
That's a really interesting way to think about it, but it makes sense.
So that's why, like, even today, I still, like, this one reminds me of so-and-so. It may not be 100%. I got you figured out a decent amount where, I genuinely want you to enjoy your time, in this case at PAX Romana, and so that's what I strive to do. So that was the biggest part of the golf club. And it was, life-changing again in itself. I still keep in touch with most of them. But I wasn't leaving there until it was for myself. So then that's how PAX Romana came to be, good old White Plains.
And that's a huge subject to talk about in itself.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you said you weren't going to leave until you were ready to do it for yourself.
Right.
How long, mind you, you have a couple partners in this business.
I do. Love them with all my heart.
And you met those guys at what point in this journey?
Well, one of my partners, Alfredo, I met in probably, has to be 2005 or 2006. And we had mutuals, became friends and everything, realized we had a lot in common, realized we had a love for the restaurant business. And even back then, we were like, one day, we're gonna open up a restaurant together, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, blah, blah, blah. And then what was it, fast forward, about 11, 12 years later, we did. So, and then along with his brother, Christian, so the three of us are partners, and Christian's been in the game for a long time. He's with Haiku, and his uncle is the one with his partner started Haiku, so he really learned Westchester and the business and everything, and Haiku's powerhouse, I think they have 4 or 5 restaurants still. And so it was just, excuse me, allergy season, I guess. But a collective effort, one brought this, one brought that, one brought this. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, but it was like such a perfect balance of a partnership in the sense that where somebody was weak, the other one had a strong point that we'd lift each other up.
What actually are those strong points that you each carry the torch into the business with?
I'm probably more of the risk taker. You know, I'm definitely like, all right, let's do it. You know, and
you need that.
Right. And, you know, I'd like to think, you know, I try to go into it intelligently and rationally and do my homework on it first. But I love projects. I love new projects. And I want it to be successful. Where sometimes my partner is a little bit more reserved, but it's good because it tones me down, because sometimes I get too excited, you know, and I need to tone it down. And I kind of feel like then it's also the opposite, where I try to boost that up to a little bit too. So it's a perfect balance. It's like, all right, hold on. You know, I know you're excited. I know you want to do this. Calm the hell down a second. This is what can make it even better. I'm like, okay, yeah. You know, I didn't think of it that way, but all right, cool. Let's do it.
And you touch on that too, because the balance in the partnership is so important.
It's important. And listen, we're all human. We're all human. We have our moments, but
we talked about in last episode, like Mike and I had to figure out our balance, because we talked about, like, in the beginning we were doing everything together. So, you know, one day we're like, I'm going to cook today.
I remember shifts with you in the kitchen.
Yeah, like you run the front, I'm going to cook today, and then tomorrow you do this and I'll do that, and then it was just all over the place, and the consistency wasn't there. And then we figured out, you're better at that, I'm better at this,
right?
You know, and I'm the same way. You just said I'm always like, fuck it, let's do this. Let's just do it. Yeah. And Mike's like, whoa, we don't have the money for that. I'm like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Just came in with like the social Instagram counter that he was getting hyped about putting up in the place. He was like, yeah, Mike's going to kill me. I bought a second one.
Amazing. Just keep rocking.
Doing it. So that's true. You need to have that balance, because not everybody has a strength in every single area. Some of us are well-rounded, but we still need to have our strengths. And I think for a lot of the part, as far as what people see coming into PAX Romana, is you're always there in the front of the restaurant. Yeah. You're always saying hello to everybody. You're always greeting everybody.
Well, that's the other side of it, too, is that I love being on the floor. Like, I love being on the people. And not that, you know, they don't, but they're better at back office. I can't sit at a desk. I'll lose my mind.
Totally.
Yeah, and
same.
Like, I need to be out in action. I don't want to know. And listen, we all do our fair share of paperwork and everything. I'd say it's obviously the least exciting part of the job, but 1,000,000% necessary. But where one of my partners would rather be a little bit more take care of that, and he's very, very good at it, and I trust him completely, by all means. Let me thrive on the floor. Like, I'm good with that. I want to be in the front. I want to greet you when you come in. You know, if you're happy, I want to hear about it. If you're not happy, I want to hear about it. That's another big part of my goal. And like things that I've seen over the years is the criticism, whether it could be positive or it could be negative, and how to handle that. And I feel that the business has a very stigmatized image of owners or managers and experiences that guests have had that I'm trying to change completely, because I think it's kind of scary.
That could tie right back into your gamifying of this entire business, where you're like, this person needs this, this person needs this.
Right.
Everyone expects something different when they go out, which is why we have a lot of negative Yelp reviews that some people read and they go, that's not really that bad. Well, what's this person talking about here?
Right. My favorite is too salty, especially when they eat carbonara. Like, carbonara is salty.
Right.
You know, we're using pecorino cheese. This is not Parmigiano. Pecorino is salty compared to like sweeter Parmesan or guanciale. Like, that's salty, fatty pork cheek. I'm not using bacon. Like, we don't even add extra salt. Yeah, it's going to be a little salty.
And they say it's fatty.
Too salty is always right.
It's too fat. It's too much
that's
fat.
The other part
it's
of it.
Fat. It's
literally exactly. But that's always my favorite, too salty.
So before you open PAX Romana here, because you don't just go, well, you actually might have just said, guys, let's open up this restaurant. And your boys were like, slow down a little bit here, Paulie, right?
No, it was collective. We restaurant hunted for probably almost a year.
So you're looking for a space originally.
All over Westchester.
But you already kind of have to have a plan at that point, right? You have some idea of what you're going to be doing.
For sure.
But
for sure.
The PAX Romana, I want to say almost version 1. Can we say that?
Yeah. I always say this is 1A. You know, this is, right.
I mean, it's always going to keep on getting better and evolve over time. But
that's the goal.
In that first location that you took over, it was a huge corner cap. It was a big space.
Yeah. It's about 11,000 square feet, maybe a little bit more.
It's a lot. And
And
loved what we did there. Dude.
Yeah, I'm over here 3,700. I'm like, oh my God, this is huge.
Crazy.
From the outside, you don't really know what's happening inside to some extent. So the first time that I walked in there, I was like, the street's a little quiet. Maybe it's not so busy inside. Yeah. You open up the front doors, and the moment you open it up, you start hearing people talking and chatting, and you hear some music in the background.
It was an interesting run.
And it's completely filled, the entire place. I wouldn't have expected that. Yeah. But then you start looking around at the build-out, and you have these beautiful blue tiles on the wall with white, and you walk in, and on the left-hand side, there's this gelato counter with all of these colorful gelatos right there. So, like, instantly walking in, you know you can get dessert here. And you're thinking about it out the gate before you've even had an appetizer.
Yeah, everyone's chosen the dessert already before they even see the hostess.
So you did like a lot of interesting things in this place too. You had a whole light coming down on this center square rectangle counter that pasta was getting made on all the time, and guys were sitting there watching the pasta be made while they were having glasses of wine. Just like really cool things that weren't being done.
Yeah, and that was all part of the original plan. You know, I think a lot of it. I'm first generation Italian on my mother's side. My mother was born there. Her family immigrated here, I think, 47, 48 years ago now. She was 12 years old. Just gave away my mother's age, but I don't think she'll mind. And then my father's the all-American boy, but his roots are Italian, but American through and through. So I had a nice balance of both growing up. You know, my super American side, my super Italian side. But then my partners are the same too. They're even more so. Both their parents. You know, and they're brothers. My two partners are brothers. Both their parents born there. You know, so they were raised. I mean, they're American, but they were raised very Italian. But we had that commonality, and that was the goal with this, was kind of to create a place that felt like you were at home. You know, me growing up, I remember my grandmother making sauce every August with my grandfather, 300 plus jars that would hopefully make a year at 300 plus jars. You know, for a family of 4 or 5, you know, and pasta being made and cooking every single day. And my house growing up smelling like all these different foods. My two partners, the same exact thing. And, you know, we enjoyed going out to restaurants, but nothing ever felt like that same vibe. You know, even when I'm at the restaurant, I don't change anything. I don't become a robot. You know, I'm exactly who I am. Even the way I answer the phone sometimes is like, hey, what's up, bro? Yeah, what do you? No, I'm sorry, we don't take reservations. You know, but it's just very, very casual, and I kind of feel that people have been drawn to that because it's just genuine. I love the fact that I don't have to change anything about who I am and how I act in order to relate to somebody, and I kind of feel that's translated well. You know, so far at least. I don't know. This is interesting business.
I think
that's exactly why I opened with that story, because it led itself to. You know, it's just like, you're coming over to my place. Right. Here's some dessert.
Yeah. But going back to what you said, you know, when you walk in, it was that different vibe. It was, you know, I loved walking into my house and seeing my grandmother right there on the table making pasta, making sauce, or cooking this, my grandfather helping. So when you walked into PAX at PAX 1 or whatever you want to call and you saw that, you walk in, you see that food, you smell those aromas, you see those, you know, those Italian ladies making that pasta right there in you're literally walking into my house. It's just like some cooler lighting, maybe. I don't know. You know, and a bar that at the time was 40 feet long. I don't have a 40-foot bar in my house. So that was a little bit different, you know, but it was home, and I still call it home. And even the ones who work with us, you're part of my family. And that could be another topic completely, because everyone that works with us, you are my family. You are number one in my book. Above the guest, above everyone, you work with us. You are absolutely number one. And if you're still with us, and a lot of them came back when we went to PAX 1A, which is now TVB by PAX Romana, they came back with us, you know, 17 months later. And to me, that's my soft spot. Like, that's my weakness. You know, like, I care about these people. And there's not a single thing that anybody can say to me about them that negative that I would ever believe, because I know who they are as people. And I will vouch to them till I'm blue in the face. I've told, you know, very, very rarely has I gotten this. But a couple of times I've even had to ask somebody to leave because I didn't like the way they were talking about the staff. And I'll do that all day for them. So
I think that's good to have that support and have a team that's strong together to the point where
they're my heart.
You say, all right, there's a bad apple in the group. We have to make sure that this group stays alive and healthy.
For sure. And and again, we're all human. We all have our moments, but look at this rationally. Let's figure out a solution that's going to benefit everyone. And I think also, even my management style is just jump in and work together. At no point, I feel, should you think that you're too good to do something, And
that goes back
regardless
to the shrimp
of
on the
title.
floor.
Right. I was there picking up shrimp. I know what picking up shrimp tails feels like. And these people are providing for themselves, their families, their kids, everything else. Like, I want you to crush it. So if I can help you along the way, maybe make something a little bit easier for you if you're in the weeds and I could jump in and help out, maybe make you an extra $10 on that gratuity because so-and-so didn't feel neglected. That $10 is going to add up over time. Maybe you can give your kids a better life.
Sure.
So that's what I'm all about.
And it's a good way to go about it too, because if you're out there with working with them and doing all that grunt work, they're gonna work harder for you.
For sure.
Like no, this guy's
as soon as they see you doing it, they'll be more apt to doing it themselves.
Same thing. I run around busting tables, whatever.
Definitely.
I'm too good to bust a table.
No,
this is my first table I ever bust. It's like Goodfellas. What? I never dug a hole before.
It keeps you sharp too. It does. It keeps you sharp.
Absolutely.
So, and then listen, I've never once been snapped back at if I had a request to do something, because they know I would do the same thing for them in a heartbeat. So it makes the whole thing. I've done one. Been open almost a year and 8 months at the new location. I did one interview, and that whole time, and it was because of a school schedule change. The waitress that needed to make the change, she's still with us, but nobody could fill in her gaps with school and everything else. So I had to hire somebody new. It was the weirdest experience. It's like, it's been a while. Like, what are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? Do you like bread? Is this a date? Like, I don't know what's going on. But you seem to have a cool personality. You're chill. You're going to fit in well here. Again, just be a good person. Everything else, fine.
We were just talking about the interviews last episode.
Yeah.
What do you want? You want me to touch on the interviews? The interview process is weird. It's
just so weird.
And as you get older, you realize that you're not the one getting interviewed. You're interviewing the location that you want to work for or work at. Is this a place that I could get along with the guys?
It's almost the opposite. Exactly. Totally. You're so on point with that.
We did talk to Rocco DeLeo, and he's an architect, a couple episodes back, and he did a lot of work for Eugene's Diner. He did some bar taco stuff, Eugene's. Right? And a lot of the things that we spoke about in there was the way that you design a restaurant. You have these focal points and things that you look at. And, we'll start here with version 1 at the end of the day, too, because there were just so many pieces of that puzzle that really guided your eyes when you walked in.
All about the visual.
So in saying that you prepared this business plan before you opened this place and you knew that what you were kind of going to do, were you working with an architect? Because I know you're very hands-on also.
No. You need actually, no, we didn't even need an architect for the original one because it was already a restaurant, so it was just cosmetic. But you mean more as like an architect in the sense of like an interior designer?
Yeah.
No, so then we did that all ourselves, and going back to like the strengths and weaknesses, one of my partners is absolutely brilliant when it comes to design, and his wife now equally, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but probably even more brilliant at it.
You just got him so many points.
Yeah. But I've learned so much from him about everything, like placement and sizing and lighting and everything. It was such an eye-opener. But in terms of the restaurant, the first one and even the new one, it was all us. But like they were really the driving force behind the design. I'll put it to work. Like, I'll jump right in. Let's do this. But, it was all done in-house.
And a lot of these restaurants have these
which
little
made
focal
it feel
points.
even more like home,
Totally. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these restaurants have these focal points. Saltaire has their oyster counter right at the bar top. So you could be the only person sitting at the bar, but there's still action around you. Right. So you never feel lonely or empty or whatever it is. And in PAX V1, you had that little pasta counter.
Right.
And it had to be your mother behind the thing making pasta.
At the original restaurant, it was my two partners, Alfredo and Christian, their mom.
So, okay.
And then another Italian woman that was making all the pasta.
At first, I was like, this is a very nice touch. They've hired older
Yes.
women to come in here and make pasta, so people think they're making pasta in here.
Yeah.
You're making pasta in here, though.
Literally.
And
Everything.
they produce all the pasta that you use at the restaurant?
Every single one. The only
That's
one that we don't
crazy.
make is the gluten-free, and that's purely to keep it safe. And we
Yeah.
get it from an awesome company that only makes gluten-free. But
Wow.
every other pasta on the menu, there's probably 12 or 13, we make every single day.
Jesus.
And now at PAX V2, version 2, it's a new one now, it's still Alfredo and Chris's mom, along with now my grandmother. So
Love it.
now, yeah.
Love it. And talk about building a family. It's like a second home at that point.
Yeah, they don't stop. They don't build them like that anymore, man. It's crazy. She's
So- and-
82 years old.
And so, like, even during dinner service, they're like making pasta.
Yeah. And she gets mad when like she doesn't show up. She's like, "Listen, I'm sorry. Like I couldn't make it today." This. And I'm like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "You don't have to apologize for anything."
That's so cool.
Yeah,
And
but they live for it.
In that first location, that was the first time I saw this.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about doing various promotions through the restaurant that tie into a place. But you started doing pasta classes. And you get a bottle of
Keep it fun.
wine,
Right.
you make some pasta,
Right.
chef will cook it for you, you take home whatever's left over, which is cool as shit because there's nowhere that was really doing anything
No,
in the
not at the
area
time.
extra, right? The icing on the cake for people to come in and have an experience.
Sure.
Because we're pivoting away from people just going and taking orders and eating something out. At this point, we want an experience. We want our money to go a little bit further. We want
Definitely.
to have that value feel. And
Definitely.
you provide that. And
Yeah.
it's something so cool to see these little touches that get added on to restaurants. Like you've done a couple different dinners at the spot.
Like the pairing
we did
dinners,
we did the Pat Van Winkle dinner, right? You tie in a lot of the
I didn't
things
get that
that you
invite,
do.
Justin. What the?
No, it was before. It was
Oh,
before.
okay.
That was a while ago. That was what was that? Like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Oh man, that must have been at least 4 years ago now.
That's
That was-
awesome.
Yeah.
He was still working with us at that time.
I actually have a few bottles. You want to
So-
rehash this idea?
Yes.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
So in doing these, it's just kind of a thing that's very cool that you guys do is go the extra mile.
Yeah. Well, and again, it was like that home feel, where like you kind of jump in, even though I wasn't really allowed in the kitchen much growing up because I think it was assumed that I would screw something up. Like I wasn't even allowed to wash. Imagine not allowed to wash dishes because they'd probably have to rewash them. Incredible.
I never had that problem.
But
I was in there.
so,
have that
again, you
problem
walk
now.
in, you see that, but now you get to experience it too. And I think, but that also stemmed from like, you kind of see like the way the world is going and the trends. And I feel like we live in a cool time where people want that additional experience, but kind of also that old world, kind of down to the roots, how it started, like that purist way of doing things. And even so, like not everything we make is purely purist. With the amount of pasta we make, we have machines, they're electric, and certain, half the pasta is handmade, the other half, we use an extruder just because, to keep two Italian ladies healthy and go and, keep their hands in good condition, for the amount of pasta, we have an extruder that can pump out 40 pounds an hour. You find me 2 humans that could do the same, that'll be a miracle. But, but again, we keep it transparent. We want you to be there. We want you to experience it, even if you're just watching. But then with the classes, you get your hands dirty a little bit, you drink a little bit, you eat a little bit. 99% of the people never made pasta before in their lives and probably never will again. But it's such an awesome night and it's such an awesome experience. And you just get that little taste and that little bit of appreciation and respect for something maybe you didn't know. And again, it's just a learning process. Everyone takes everything so seriously. Just have fun. Life is short. Make pasta, eat pasta. You want that a little extra carb right there. Don't give up carbs for Lent. I know it's Lent right now. If that's, your goal, don't give that up. But
I went fried food myself.
You gave up
I was
fried
thinking
food?
soda. I have an addiction to Diet Coke.
One year, I gave up soda 1 year and never went back to it.
Yeah, I wish. I don't
How
know what
often
it
do you
is.
do the pasta classes?
Every Monday night. Every Monday. We're booking right now. Booking into the end of May.
Wow.
Yeah, we put it on hold for the holidays, and it was of course, when you stop something, that's when everything comes flooding in even more.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's home. The families are all coming from various
And
areas.
it broke my heart. It broke, like, every time I got a message like, oh, you still doing classes? I'm like, damn it. I was like, we're putting on hold for the holidays just to get through the holidays because it was such a crazy month. And then once January hit, like, literally, I think it was December 30th was our first one right back at it. And then they came, I emailed you a while back, we're starting classes again. And finally, I was like, yes, we are. We're starting the classes again. And then it just kind of hit the ground running all over.
We were talking in the last episode to DJ Ryan Vandal also about content and creating this content. And if you look up TVB by PAX here, you'll see so many people just having the time of their lives putting this pasta class or taking part in the pasta class.
It's fun.
And it's created a lot of free promotion at the end of the day, too, which is why that thing spreads.
Definitely.
You're getting those calls saying, families in town, are you guys doing pasta classes?
Yeah, it's something else. You get people that just, want to come in. Some people come in by themselves. Some people come as a couple. Some people come as a group. Some people want to, if it's a fully open class, like that far in advance, sometimes they book it for the whole thing. The family's coming in, or even if it's corporate and they want to do like a team building kind of camaraderie, team exercise. We get that a lot. You get all walks of life. And that was the other beautiful thing about what we did. I literally see every type of person every single day. I didn't want to gear it towards something specific. It was for anybody with a good energy. Again, I emphasize good energy. And I'm just drawn to it. But, so the classes really, again, it's just that little extra experience. And especially in an area that is growing right now. White Plains has always been kind of like a central hotspot in a sense. It's gone through its phases. It has its ups and its downs and its awesomeness and its super weirdness. But it's undergoing an awesome transition right now. And I'm just like thoroughly happy just to be a part of it.
The main strip in White Plains for the longest time, the rent became astronomical, insane for the amount of business that was currently through the town, and guys were finding it hard. You're finding it hard to survive.
Yes.
And then the side street that you've gone on is not really an off street at all. It's like right in the center of.
It was
White
the original
Plains.
strip,
and it was the original.
It was. Back in the
East
day.
Post Road was the original avenue in a sense. Then again, it went through its changes. Then it kind of flopped to Mamaroneck Avenue. But now you're getting, I feel like you're starting to get more diversity. You're getting more culture. You're getting more options of things to do. We're a restaurant first. We have a small little bar, and nothing like the original bar. But again, like I'm an Italian restaurant. Italian restaurants don't need monster bars. And again, we're a restaurant first. So we get a cool bar scene, but it's very comfortable. It's very cozy. Even if you're there by yourself or just as a couple, even for whatever reason, there's nobody else in the restaurant. It never feels uncomfortable, because you just don't feel lost. Correct. That was the one thing about the original space and things you learn as you go. If two people sat at that bar, it's like you're sitting, it's a mile long. Yeah. You don't even know where you are. It's almost like you're hearing echoes, like you're in a cave. And listen, it worked when it worked, but you learned a lot, and that kind of changed the perception of what we wanted to do. And downsizing, especially to what we are now, is everything to me.
And so with the V1 restaurant, you were kind of an anchor point coming into the side street where people weren't really at that point, and it wasn't really bringing people to that side street. And with that said, I think the rents were a little bit cheaper on the side street too at that point.
Oh my
versus
God.
what everyone else is paying on the main.
Incredible.
It was like make one
not
right
cheap,
turn.
but significantly cheaper.
For literally a 3-minute further walk, which is insane to me.
Like Mamaroneck Avenue will make you throw up a couple times a day. East Post Road maybe once, based on the rent.
So now you're in one of the best positions possible, as there's new skyscrapers going in across the street from you directly. Yeah. That couldn't have happened at a better time.
Yeah. That
after you signed your lease.
Getting my hands dirty part of me, I just find myself sitting at the bar like a little kid in a candy store, just watching these cranes and these scaffolds and everything just being built, and I love it.
And so in needing to go into V2, let's just touch on the closing of V1 real quick. And we were talking to Kyle and Sarah about various leases and issues that guys have all the time. Everyone wants to open up a restaurant because everyone's going to be successful in doing it.
Yeah.
And we've
easy.
learned that there's so
Very.
much shit that you just find yourself in as you're like going through this whole process. And
Yes.
when PAX, the first one, closed, everyone said, what the hell they close for? It's
I know.
so busy all
Crazy.
the time. It's insane.
Crazy.
So in that, is there something maybe to tell these guys that are opening up restaurants to look at or go over twice and, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's?
Definitely. Well, again, you know, when we started PAX version 1, I was 28 at the time. You know, my partner Alfredo, he's not even a year younger than me, so we're pretty much the same age. And then Chris is, I think he was 34, 35 at the time. Maybe 36 at best. But again, all seasoned enough in the business to understand it. You know, we definitely put on a lot of hours combined over the years. But even then, you can't cross your T's and dot your I's enough. So, you know, there's always different rumors because everyone knows something more than someone else. But from the horse's mouth, you know, PAX version 1 closed because, you know, we were given a fraudulent lease on a space by a landlord that was foreclosing on a building and never disclosed that to us. And our original lawyer didn't take that extra step to even find that out because a simple title search could have easily identified that. Now, what the reason behind it was, we may never know, you know, because we found out 8 months after we opened and we were there for a year. So think now, 8 months after opening up this dream restaurant that we all wanted, and then finding out the ultimate wrench in this entire operation, and then literally fighting it with every little bit of us for 4 months while staying open at the same time. Going into holiday season, I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm going to lose, my mind is going to explode. You know, you go through the craziest, you know, array of emotions: happiness, anxiety, stress, depression, everything, which I think is part of the business anyway, you know, but on such a different level. And this business is wacky in the sense that anything can happen at any given point in time. But at the time, this just seems so out of the ordinary. Listen, we all have a story. We've all been through something. Mine is not more severe or less severe or anything else. It's just, this is my story, you know, and I don't look for pity or sympathy because, frankly, it doesn't really help anything. But now looking back and going into PAX V2, it's like, all right, now I can read a lease a little bit better. You know, now I'm going to have a lawyer who's absolutely amazing with everything that he does and is huge, you know, supporter and backbone of what we do that I trust with my life. And I still look at leases, and it's hieroglyphics. It's impossible unless you have some law background or
It's
some
job protection.
It's
for those reading it.
crazy. Like reading, I'm like, yeah, sure. It looks great.
Yeah.
Where do I sign my name? Let's do it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Have somebody who is a vet in this game,
And restaurant guy. And a restaurant
guy that can read a lease in and out, because there's always something that's going to be changed that is going to protect both parties. Definitely good to protect yourself, but obviously landlords are going to look out for themselves more so than anyone else. And they're going to word things that are going to make it to their advantage, but it's not always necessary. The lawyer's job is to create that middle ground where it works for both parties. And now, after everything that happened with PAX version 1, you know, you look at the world a little bit different, a little bit more realistic, a little bit more in depth, a little more knowledged, and you know how to go into it. Always have a good lawyer. Invest in a good lawyer. If you think it's expensive to have a great lawyer, think of how expensive it's going to be to have a bad lawyer. You know, in the long run. So,
Are you the only one that's able to do any type of Italian cuisine on that block? Is that in your lease protection or no?
Oh, under this landlord? I think it is. Because I know that was the case with one of the other restaurants that were there. But we do have that protection in our sense. But then again, there's so many spaces there. But there's also 30. I think I read somewhere that there's probably 32 Italian restaurants in White Plains, give or take.
They're all over the place, though. It's not
They really
like-
are.
And it's funny the way
But do
White
your
Plains
thing.
is. You can't even, like, we're from, like, the Lake Street area.
Yeah.
We won't go past the Ave. So if you're on the other side of the Ave, as a family, like,
Don't.
like, right where PAX is, that's, like, my cutoff.
Right.
If you're on the other side, I'm not going over
I
there.
think that's definitely changing a little bit now too. You have some other awesome restaurants that are bringing something new and different. Like I love Key Oyster House. I think that they do a great job.
They did another
It's just a
thing.
little bit on the other
Beautiful.
side. Though. I can't.
It's just too
Just,
too far over.
just on the other side, but I think they're changing that view.
Well, they went in as an anchor point,
Yeah.
and they knew they were the only destination over there that people were really going to be coming to
Definitely.
from the main strip. So, like, you take a risk in
And they're
doing
good
something
people.
like that.
I like good people. They're good people.
I've
I
been
think
in there
said that
multiple
a few
times, yeah.
times, but yeah,
And-
support them.
So with the switch, right?
Love supporting,
So-
and that's the other thing. Love supporting neighbors, good neighbors.
That's always nice
You know,
to see.
always. There's plenty go around, and it's only
Yeah.
growing. Everyone can crush life. I don't understand it.
Oh, I
You
can
can
agree
be
with that.
cutthroat
Yeah.
for everything.
You-
It's
you for
stressful.
You for sure can agree
For
with that.
sure,
stressful.
can agree with
Recently.
that because we just had the. I keep bringing it up, but I guess it's relevant because we
It
just had
is
that
relevant.
fire. I don't know if you heard about. We had a fire in
Yes.
our restaurant.
Yes,
And,
crazy.
it sucked. The whole block though on Super Bowl Sunday, like the other restaurants, I got some space in my oven. You can use that because we had
Awesome.
all these orders to get out.
That I love that.
You know,
I
so it's-
love that.
It was, you have a community. We all help each
Yep,
other out.
you
I
do.
think a lot of people look at that and they're like, "Oh, you guys are all competitors, right?" I'm not competitive. This guy, that guy.
No.
It was, bro. If we're all doing good, if we're all providing a good service, more people
More
are going
people come to the
down.
block.
But, you know, you're
You know?
also everyone brings something different. You know,
Yeah.
like not everybody that comes into PAX loves what we do. There's not a restaurant on earth that can do that. You name me one, I'll give it all up right now. But you know, some people have different expectations. Maybe they don't like. Maybe it's a little too much energy. You know, maybe they want that white tablecloth, fine dining, whatever else, which is amazing. But that's not who we are.
My grandfather, he doesn't want to
Right.
hear any music in the place. So you keep
Right.
it down all the way.
So
you keep your
literally
white
wants
tablecloth
zero
on.
music.
And I could take him to your place, and he'd give you a 1-star rating on Yelp
Probably.
if you could figure out how to use the.
I don't
thing,
play
right?
Sinatra all day either, and I love Sinatra. You know, but it's just different. But again, it's just creating options for people. And there are times where, you know, so they'll give us feedback. Maybe it wasn't their expectation. I'm going to listen. Describe to me what you're looking for. All right, cool. Go down
fine.
2 blocks. There's an Italian restaurant right there that you just described to the T. If you haven't tried it already, they're awesome people. Tell them we sent you. Maybe they'll buy you around. I don't know. If they don't, go support them anyway because they're good people and it's
Right.
exactly what you're looking for.
And that's
It's like the
hospitality.
Miracle
Yeah.
on 34th Street, the Santa that was sending everybody to, right? You know,
I
nobody
don't
saw
know.
that.
I don't
You ever saw
remember.
Miracle on 34th Street?
I mean, I think I've seen it.
the Santa like at Macy's, and they're like, "I want this
Just
toy."
you know me, you know this isn't gonna happen.
Well, he sits and
Years and years
he's
and
like the
years.
Santa at Macy's, and the kids are like, "Can I buy
Right.
that?" Well, you can't buy it here, but you can get it at this store. And then Macy's was getting mad at him, but then it turned into such positive feedback that he was like the Santa that was giving everybody good advice.
I gotta watch it now.
So it turned into like,
directional.
and then Macy's was like, "Yeah, let's tell people go other places."
I love it. Yeah, why not?
Just wait a couple more months. Winter will be back, and it'll be all over TV.
yeah,
All right,
exactly.
You guys switched from the old place to the new, and unintentionally.
Well, how much
obviously,
time
right?
though? How much time was in between that?
Well, we went right into court. We were in basically two lawsuits. One settled after 10 months. The other one just never settled because God knows why. But again, irrelevant. But even though that court lasted 10 months, we signed the lease on PAX version 2 3 months after we closed. Signed it 3 months after. Went into construction once we got the permits. Built it for another 14 months. So we were closed between both restaurants for 17 months total. And
It's a long time.
yeah,
so
still
long.
with all the outstanding debt of everything we invested in version 1.
I was gonna say, what do you do with all the equipment during that time period and everything that you
We joke, you know, because again, you have to make light of the situation. So what I called it was 3 Shems Moving and Storage Company. So the 3 of us, with the help of, you know, our closest, lived in a U-Haul for about a week or so. And took us 6 months to put it all together and 6 days to take it all out. Packed our houses, our neighbors' houses, Our houses literally look like junkyards.
Wow.
Like if you went to my house, you walked in the backyard, you'll see 3 bay sinks and, you know, all these different types of equipment, pizza ovens, stoves and garages,
Wow.
you know, chairs, tables, glassware. You never realize how much you have.
Yeah.
My God.
That's what we have right
Filled
now.
4 houses. And still, you know, we still have good neighbors that a few years later, you know, help us out. But, yeah, so 17 months in its entirety. And again, today's day and age, power of social media, you know, how information travels instantly with everything. I was like, all right, you know, I'm not going out this way. If I fail, I fail. I'm not afraid to fail. Not that I couldn't care less. Obviously, I don't want to fail. Listen, if I fail, God forbid something happens, I'll go do something else.
Spoken like a true risk taker.
Yeah, right. You know, which again is I'm probably too laid back about it. But
you go back, right?
You go back.
yeah, you go. That's right. Stop. He's like kind of chilling me. You go back. But I wasn't going to go out that way. So I'm like, we're coming back with a vengeance. And I'm using social media as a platform to keep everyone in the loop for every little step that
I remember
we take.
seeing your like progress posts and countdown till you finally
This is our
open again.
signature on a new lease.
Yep.
You know, this is the space.
Keys. I remember seeing that one.
Yep.
Demoing walls, you know, ripping down ceilings, ripping up floors, because we took a space that wasn't a restaurant. It was a wine shop.
Yeah.
An awesome one, too. But, and they're still there on the Ave. It's now Lavino, but it was Vino 100. This was their former space.
I actually looked at your space with a buddy
Oh, get out.
before you took that space, and I said to him, how high do you think the ceilings are above that?
The front is almost 20 feet.
Paint the V2 picture for people that are abroad and not really in our area to be able to check you out.
Well, so now we went from an 11,000 square foot restaurant, 2 floors, massive everything, which now in hindsight, I really don't miss at all. So overrated. Monster restaurants are so overrated. To the smaller space that maybe in its entirety is just under 4,000 between 2 floors, which I love every second of it. Long, narrow. It's what's called railroad style restaurant. So there's literally just one straight walk through. You know, you walk in, you walk up a little ramp that's blocked off. You know, it just goes parallel to the bar. You know, but it's separated from the bar, so it's not like you're walking right into one.
There's a banister in between.
Yeah, banister,
and some
right.
curtains.
To bar, to the this is on the right hand side. Bar, pasta bar, open kitchen, down the back, out the back door.
And all seating on the left.
And then, yes, and all the seating is on the left with the exception of that bar, of the pasta bar, which we use for dining at night. And then there's one high top table in the back that is on the right-hand side. Otherwise, everything else is on the left.
And a really beautiful front door. With a
Yes,
story
I
behind
love
it.
that door. It cost me $100 at a estate sale, but I put some TLC on it and made it our own. Beautiful. Solid oak, too. But, yeah, I do. I love that door.
Let's just talk
Pulling my
about.
heartstrings, man. Now I'm getting all flashbacks of the construction and everything.
I was gonna say, let's just talk about the door and get it out of the way, because
Yeah.
you're a guy that definitely does some things for himself. You're not out here necessarily just seeking help or crying, I don't know how to do this. You're going to take the liberty of figuring it out. So you find this beautiful door.
Yeah.
And when you got it, it wasn't as beautiful.
No, it was not.
I mean, the bones were there.
Yeah, it was there. You saw the potential. And you saw the history of the door. You saw the life of the door, and you saw what it could be for you. And I don't want to sound so cliche and so sappy about it, but doors to me are very symbolic, you know. And I didn't want to just buy a door, you know, and that's it. Like, this was ours, and that door represents everything. That door represents a gateway for anybody to walk in and feel like they're appreciated, that they're welcome, and that's from the heart. You know, that's genuine. Like, you can't teach that, and that's just who you are as a person. So that door means everything to me, in the sense that I just want to create an escape for everybody that just wants to escape a little bit, you know, and just feel like they're acknowledged. Like, all walks of life. Doesn't matter to me. It could be white, it could be black, it could be Asian, anything. Doesn't matter. All backgrounds, sexual orientations, religions, it's irrelevant to me. If you are a good person, you're welcome in my house.
What color is that front door that makes it stand out so much on the Ave? That's what nobody knows. On
it
the
does.
Other
It sticks out a little bit. It definitely has like that. I don't know how to even describe that color. Like a tannish, but then all the molding that's on it is white and blue.
Interesting.
And it's the contrast between the door itself and the moldings and like the trim rather that's on that door. It's such a high contrast that it's impossible not to see if you're driving by and kind of like, what the hell's going on here?
I've seen the door 150 times. Every time I drive by, I still stare at the door. It's like a magnet.
It's weird, right?
Eyes.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. It's another thing. Be weird. Embrace the weird.
So you get rid of all this overhead of having a huge corner space, go into something that's
that was the only plus.
Well over or well under.
Not the only plus. It seemed like the only plus at the time.
Seemed like the only plus at the time. But
yeah, like we're going to
now being in a smaller space like this too, you're able to do so much more. It feels warmer.
Yes.
It feels cozy.
That's the other thing you kind of, well, in this case we learned, or I learned, going from like the massive space to the smaller space. Again, it depends on what you want to do. You know, I want to create an experience. Like I want to be part of your experience if you want me to be. You know, if you just want to come in and come out, do your own thing, fly by the seat of your pants, rock with it. I'm cool with that. But if you want me to be part of the experience, I can do that now. I could do that at PAX version 1, but there's so many moving parts and so many things going on that so many things kind of get left in the shadows that I look back on, I'm like, you know, damn, I wish I could have done a little bit more. I just, with the size of the space and everything going on, you can't get to everything. This one, like I said, it's railroad style. I could walk straight through and stop at every single table and see everything going on at any given point in time and put an attention towards it. You know, so it's almost like very minimal what slips through the cracks here. And it becomes easier to manage. We had a private party room at the old restaurant, which was great. You know, we did a lot of parties down there. I think in the year we did almost 200.
Jeez.
I loved it, but I don't miss it at all, man. At all. Like it took me away from everything I wanted to do. You know, like I wanted to be on the floor. Like I don't want to just watch parties. Like I said, we did so many that it took me away from like what I felt like I really, really loved, even though I did enjoy it. But I don't miss it. You know, and now in hindsight, looking at everything that happened, the ups, the downs, and a lot of downs with version 1, in the sense of the landlord and the lease and everything else, you know, maybe it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, you know, because we've got a solid year out of it, set a foundation for everything that I do next. And, you know, it was able to, it was a blessing in disguise, you know, now, because I took that foundation, took that following, I guess, in a sense, kept everybody in the loop. So then when we reopened, it was just like right back to the races, you know, and that much more now. Because word spread quick. It was crazy. Even again with the power of social media, put out a video about everything that was going on. And Facebook told me that in 36 hours it reached over 40,000 people. Wow. We were getting floods of messages. And
is that the one in the office?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that. That was the first video I saw.
Yeah, it was. But again, I'm all about transparency. I want people to be a part of what we do. See everything that we do. That's why even at the restaurant, everything's open. You can watch, you can see anything. Even if you go downstairs to the private dining room, all the prep rooms and the storage rooms all have glass windows. You can see into every little bit of this place.
He was telling me about that. That sounds really cool.
To really speak to your personality, though, of like getting really, really excited about things.
Yeah.
I'll never forget coming in to eat, sitting at the table, and you go, we're working on this secret private dining room downstairs. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, you want to see it? And we go down, and how do you describe going down, Just?
It was like, what I say, from like Goodfellas, right? And you walk through the guy walks through the back of the kitchen, and you walk through the kitchen, you see everything going on, and okay, go through this door, here's your table right here.
So when you go down the stairs here, you're walking through this little alleyway underneath the main floor, which is underground level. And you walk by the kitchen, and it has this beautiful glass, so you can see what's happening in the kitchen too as you walk towards this little private dining room area.
Super clean, by the way. Like nice.
Oh,
So I walk
Sorry,
into
get me
this
started on that.
this area as he's telling me
probably
he's
say
so
it's all
hyped
about that.
about it, and I look around and it's just concrete everywhere. There's not one thing set up. He's like,
Terrifying.
this is where this is gonna go. This is where this is gonna
If
go. This is
anyone
where
knows
this is
what a
gonna
trap
go.
house is, that's exactly what this space looked like.
I feel like if you showed anybody else, they wouldn't be able to see the
Prior.
vision of like what was going to happen
Why did you
here.
take me here?
And you know what's funny about that too? And again, with getting excited and jumping into things, that room wasn't open since day one. Obviously, you know that, but for anyone listening, that room just opened a couple months ago, with building it out and everything else going on. Blah blah blah. So leading up to it, you know, one of my partners indirectly was like, you know, we're going to open the room eventually, but, you know, we got to make sure that, you know, we keep it, you know, private, you know, let's not like jump into it, start bringing people downstairs and everything, because there's still work going on down here and everything. And I looked at him, I was like, Chris, I was like, you can literally just turn to me and say, Paul, don't bring people down here, you know, and give away everything. And he started laughing back. He goes, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. But again, more reserved and the more like aggressive, I guess, in a sense.
How do you book an event down there for people that want to actually take a look at this thing or put something together downstairs? And how many people can it hold?
The private room could hold up to 18 people, family style only, because it's a little bit of a distance to run a la carte with the staff from the kitchen upstairs, downstairs, like that. Different packages depending on the day. But shoot me an email, better than the phone. Email will go to me wherever I am.
And we'll put all that in the show notes.
Phone,
too,
I don't
of
have a
course.
voicemail for a reason, so
I think I start talking a little bit about food now.
Yeah, man.
let's do it.
They told me
Because-
you make this really awesome chicken parm. And I've eaten a lot of chicken parm.
Justin swears
But
by this
Justin
chicken
swears
parm.
by this chicken parm. So what can you tell me about it?
Well, that was another menu change from the original restaurant to this one. Was the original restaurant was super Italian.
Okay.
Very, very Italian. Everything. You know, chicken parm. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love chicken parm. I could eat chicken parm every day of my life,
Yeah.
and I'll be happy. But that's
It's not really authentic.
It's not.
Yeah.
That's American Italian. That's
Absolutely.
the Bronx. The
Yeah.
Bronx. If you go to Italy, you may be able to find it because tourism created it over there.
Yeah.
The only parm that's true to Italy is eggplant.
Okay.
You know, as far as I know, but chicken parm doesn't exist over there like that. Not originated, at least. But the chicken parm, you know, it's not a revolutionary dish for an Italian restaurant to carry. But,
Yeah,
you know, you throw
I
your
know.
own little spin.
Yeah.
Use quality ingredients. I'm all about, you know, take fresh chicken breast thin. Get that bread, you know, pound it out thin. Egg wash, seasoned breadcrumbs, deep fry it. Fresh tomato sauce quality. Tomatoes. We use San Marzano DOP tomatoes.
Very nice.
The slightly dehydrated mozzarella slices. Melt it right in. A little bit Parmigiano Pecorino blend over the top. It's literally as simple as that. It's just using like the right ingredients and the right balance of all of them.
This man, day in and day out, he's like, oh man, the chicken parm at PAX. God, it's the best chicken parm. Did you tell him about the review?
No,
The Yelp that we did?
But I'm just thinking in my head now that I'm realizing it's fried
Yeah.
and I can't.
Oh,
eat
you
it
can't
for
eat it.
You're kidding me.
The
You just killed his month. You just killed his month.
Just killed. I can't eat it until Lent is
Can't
over.
you do it like on certain days or something?
I mean, I can eat other stuff.
Like after midnight? I don't know. I'll send it over to the house.
Yeah.
One of our earlier episodes, we had a Yelp review that was talking about chicken parm, and it was at PAX, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and he just stood up so hard and blasted this woman. He's like, "You must be from Texas. You don't know real good chicken parm. PAX does it right."
Oh my God. Did I miss this review?
I don't know.
She wasn't thrilled with the chicken parm, but
wasn't thrilled, but-
we
Oh,
picked
God.
it out because her response of what was wrong with the chicken parm made no sense.
She said,
and
she
we
said
weren't
it was
happy.
too much food. It was too big of a piece of chicken over too much pasta with too much sauce. I was like, those sound like wonderful problems.
Gifts from the gods, and you have a problem with
Oh my God, I
this?
must have missed this one. I gotta check it.
You didn't miss anything. Well, I think we could.
The
I mean,
army
we could
came
talk to you for
to
hours on
defense.
end about things, but
Yeah, we gotta.
where can people find the website? Where can
Well, not completely happy with the website at the moment. I kind of want to change it up, so I'm not gonna direct anyone there.
send them to the Instagram?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Instagram.
go to
solid.
social media all day, and we try to respond to everyone as quick as possible. Shoot us an email, a call. Everything can be found through the social media. So,
Hold on. Before we go though, we didn't talk about the most addictive substance on the planet.
oh no,
You're talking about that.
Which
the
one?
other thing you told me about?
The other thing.
He says you have this frozen coffee dessert.
Oh yeah, crema
He
cafe,
said-
crema di cafe, crema, whatever people want to call it. But I
He
call
said
it
he
crema
would show
cafe.
up just for that.
Yeah, we've created like a cult with it. People literally get pissed when it's not ready. It's like the McFlurry machine at McDonald's, where not that it's never working, but when it's not working, people freak. And again, so it's a frozen espresso drink that I make almost every single day. Like I tweaked it to make it my own recipe, because I just didn't think the original recipe made too much sense.
Very nice.
So it's my own, but I also thoroughly clean the entire machine in between every batch, which technically you don't have to, but I'm crazy OCD with organization, cleanliness, and things just always in their place, that I clean it thoroughly. So then, of course, you get the Murphy's Law. People come in, oh, is the crema cafe on? I was like, no, it's cleaning right now. And they're like, this is ridiculous. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, you're snapping. I mean, I'm like,
doing this for you.
She's like, I'm 4 doors down, here. I'm like, okay, listen, go back there. When it's done cleaning, I'll make a new batch. I'll bring it down to you. Don't worry about it. Stop yelling at me. But yeah,
so I gotta come by for one of those for sure.
Yeah, please do. Please do. You guys are always welcome there. Anytime you want.
Paul, thanks for coming through.
Appreciate you
look at the
having
show
me.
notes
It's
at
awesome.
the bottom. That's where you're going to find all the contact information, where you can find more on PAX Romana.
Talk about making it all the way through. Are you following the Instagram account yet? It's at Waiting on Fries Podcast. You can find video and photos of our expeditions and all things industry.